All right, shalom, Hebrews. This Israel from this Israel being Israel for the Israelite brotherhood. And I need you Hebrews to support me if you understand this history. Support the Israelite brotherhood. I'm not asking for no financial support. I'm just asking you to subscribe and tell others to subscribe. That's how you pay me back. All right, shalom, Hebrews. All right, I want to show how the Israelites in the captivity, in the Babylonian captivity, and the troubles that they went through, and I'm gonna expose some of the lies that was put down. That's like, doing, the book of Esther, and how they try to trick us in history by making think that Esther and there was something else going on, and how, they try to paint another picture of the Jews and how they got, they holiday Purim and how they were saved. But that's false history, and history is wrote up backwards because we abandoned our heritage to some Babylonian scribes, and those Babylonian scribes' whole job in history has been to distort world history so that people will not have an understanding of who the Israelites are. And I'm gonna start with, the book of Isaiah on this, and then we're gonna deal with the show you some about King Cyrus and those who ruled after him and what they was going against and what they was going up against. Remember that the Babylonians conquered the people, and after King Josiah was killed by the Egyptians, and then the Babylonians come in, they kidnap some of the people because we said we was going to do Egyptian religion, and our sins in the book of Jeremiah was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah, and how we was messed up in our last days on the land. And I can show how prophet Isaiah prophesies our total destruction from the land, and also the destruction of the exiles, even though they had a chance to survive. And that brother Cyrus, the prophet Isaiah prophesies him coming around and saving the people like 152 years before he even come about. Should let you know that it's a creator, and that history bear witness to this. And the whole time the world has been deceived by the Babylonian scribes that we Hebrews abandon our heritage to. And I got plenty videos explaining that. Just about all the videos I'm going to talk about how the Babylonian scribes got the Hebrews heritage and history, and how they distorted everything because, they heritage was formed in fashion within the lie, in the distortion of our heritage, And I'm gonna see if I can cover some of that too. But the prophet Isaiah gonna be the man that talked about Cyrus, King Cyrus, that would free the exiles. King Cyrus was prophesied to come about 152 years before he got on the throne. Now that's something real serious. That's like how King Josiah was prophesied 300 years before he come on the throne, and both of them were messiahs, which means savior, somebody that came to save the Hebrews from their troubles. And I can show that all the tribes was made one in Babylon, and how it never was any 10 lost tribes. Man, our history is so distorted and so messed up that, it's kind of hard to have a just origin point to try to point everything out, because it's all mixed up, and it got mixed up when our heritage fell into the hands of the Babylonian scribes. And I'm going to try to explain that how we abandoned our heritage to some people that was writing history, and been control of the whole Mesopotamian history, which was recognized as the world back then, and how they had control of all their history for thousands of years, going all the way back to the Tower of Babel, and how they kind of like been in control of history since then. So us Hebrews, and then I showed that we didn't have that much time on the promised land after exiting from Egypt, and how we got in the promised land and just turned wicked, and how we was tricked out the covenant and was driven off the land. And there was some of us that was captured, and I proved in the other videos how it was never any lost tribes. So all the tribes went to Babylon. It's just that Judah and Benjamin was kind of like the leaders and the people who was kind of the spokesman for all the people, since they held the land that everybody had, was driven to, because we was driven into Judah that had fenced cities in a walled city, a walled city and stuff. So everybody gonna go there. And I could show how King Hezekiah during his time enlarged the water system and brought more water into the fenced cities and the walled city, Jerusalem, because all the tribes was driven there during the Assyrian times. Prophet Isaiah prophesied the Assyrian captivity, and he prophesied their release. And Prophet Isaiah covered just about the whole history, everything that dealt with us during the time of our destruction, and what was to come to pass. And a whole lot of those prophecies come to pass. That's like Cyrus. Cyrus was the man. And if you read Isaiah 45, you're going to see that, Prophet Isaiah is telling you about Cyrus coming to rescue the people before he even was born and come on the throne. This is in 711 BC when this was wrote. Isaiah 45. This going to be around about 711 BC. And then if you read it, I'm going to read some of it. Probably can't read it all, but I'm going to read the most important parts. This said, to the deep be dry, and I will dry rivers. That said of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure. Even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple, thy foundation shall be laid. And sure enough, that come to pass with the exiles, and how Ezra and Nehemiah and them came and laid the foundation of the temple and got it straight, and everything, that prophet Isaiah had prophesied, and what Jeremiah had said about the good figs, because he gave, the oracle about the good figs and the bad figs. And the bad figs are the Hebrews that had ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, that said that, we was going to do the Egyptian religion, and that we wasn't going to let the Chaldeans and Babylonians take us nowhere, and how we was going, back into Egypt to live and stuff. So, we was the bad figs, but the good figs was promised to be brung home if they obeyed the decree of the word. And, even though the Babylonians was there tearing the land up and then burnt everything up, but how he would bring them back home to build the land and get another start. And that was a terrible history what the exiles had to go through when they come home in a total end. And that's what the prophets record. You got the prophets. You got the prophets. Ezra. You got the prophet. The exile history gonna go from 537 BC to 430 BC. The book of Malachi gonna be the last book. And 98 years later, the Greeks roll up and destroy them. Destroy them, and you get blank history for 500 years. I'm gonna explain that. All right, but you see, Ezra 537 BC to 456 BC, and the prophet Haggai 520 BC, and the prophet Zechariah 520 BC, and then you get that sister Esther, and it's real important and some good history dealing with that sister Esther, because I can show how they try to mislead you on their history, and in the book of Esther they gonna write the name Jew so many times. Man, I'm talking about they gonna flood the page with the word Jew and try to give you the impression that those were the Jews that happened to. And if you think of Jews today, you instantly think of the people that's in control and that's claiming the Israelite heritage, and that's false. And that word Jew is real tricky. It's real tricky. They try to break it down from Yehuda and Yehuda, and then just try to say that the Yehudim Yehudi just mean the people that lived in Judah's inheritance, or lived in those parts and stuff, and that anybody could have been from Judah. And then they say Judah because I think the Romans come in and they done broke the word down to Judea, and then they get the word Jew from that. But the word Jew means Jebusite. Jebusite. And those are the people who are the founders of Jerusalem, sure enough. And that's what they try to trick everybody with, is that the people we abandon our heritage to were Amorites. And were originally from Jerusalem. It's just that they empire stretched it from Jerusalem all the way to Mesopotamia. All the way to Mesopotamia. From Jerusalem all the way to Mesopotamia. And they was Amorites, and when they was placed in our land from Babylon, because the Assyrians took some Babylonians and placed them in Samaria, some scribes, somebody real serious, some people that's been having control of world history, of Mesopotamian history for like 3,000-4,000 years, at least 2,500 years before we Hebrews even become a nation. Them folks had control of the whole Babylonian history, and that's going to be the Sephardims, the Sephardims. I have videos explaining that and explaining what happened and stuff and how they got our heritage. But them people, they would come from here, from Sippar. They would come from Sippar and on the Euphrates. You know what I'm saying? They would come from Sippar. And then I want you to note how the Assyrian Empire extended all the way up here to the Black Sea. See, what's called Turkey today, it was part of the Assyrian Empire, all the way up almost close to the foot of the Caucasus Mountain. And then, over to the side was the Hittites, what they call Turkey. The Hittites, them gonna be some white folks. Them gonna be Cain descendants, and how they try to trick everybody into thinking that them was some Canaanites, but them folks wasn't descent from Heth. Those gonna be the Cain descendants, the people that didn't have no pigmentation, so it wouldn't be nothing for the other people of Iran and Turkey and those parts not to have no pigmentation and to be what you would call fur, because Cain descendants were the first fur people. That fur, that mean white, and didn't have no pigmentation, and them folks, come from the Caucasus Mountain. They came from the Caucasus Mountain, and the Hittites already lived there in what's called Turkey, and that ain't nothing but the gateway for Greece and all them other parts into the Scythian held lands. You see Germany right there, and Ukraine. That's going to be Ashkenazi held lands in ancient times, and those will be the Scythians, and those will be the people that the Persians fought against, and they killed Cyrus. They killed Cyrus and cut his head off and put it on some too, and that was their legacy of when they catch you is to cut your head off. I got videos explaining how they cut your head off and make bags out your skin and stuff. Where they was going up against those type of folks, and during our captivity in Babylon, and how the Creator said that Cyrus would come free the people and restore them. I'm finna go into that history right there. And I want you Hebrews to get an understanding that, the Tanakh is real and history verifies this. All right, I showed you where, Cyrus was told that he would, perform the pleasure and the will of the Creator, and I want to note this, man, again, how Cyrus was called a Messiah and a Savior. King Josiah was a Savior and a Messiah, and that was prophesied to come about 300 years before he came about and did everything. And that's like Cyrus was prophesied to come about 152 years before he was born. That's like Prophet Isaiah made the oracles in the saying about Cyrus in 711 BC. And he got on the throne around about 559 BC. And, it was like 152 years that, he was prophesied to come on the throne before he even got, there. And I'm going to try to cover the history with these individuals, with his sons, and what went down in history, because these folks is real slick and they've been trying to hide history. And that's like Cyrus' son-in-law that married his daughter, Doris, had a son named Xrex, and Xrex was the guy, the king that married Queen Esther. You know what I'm saying? And Esther, they gonna try to put that word Jew there. Man, they gonna Jew that word, that book down. They gonna Jew that book down. And they gonna put Jew everywhere on there to try to mislead the people into thinking that those were the Jews of today. And, it wasn't, and I could show, how that word Jew was broke down and, turned into something else. They took the word Judea and turned it into Judah into Judea, and broke it all down to where, that they included themselves. And, that's going to be the Jebusites. The Jebusites are the people, the founders of Jerusalem. All right, let me go into this. Okay, we see Cyrus, and this is in 711 BC when Prophet Isaiah said this. When he said this. All right, this said the Elohim to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have held to subdue nations before him, and I will loosen the lions of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron, and I will give thee the treasures of darkness and the hidden riches of secret places. And we know that Cain descendants and all them was into the metals and stuff, and how the Hittites and them folks, had metal chariots and so forth, Okay. All right, but Cyrus was, prophesied to come and restore the Israelites that was taken into captivity during the Babylonian times, and he did that. And he did that. And if you read this, Isaiah 45, you're going to see, what the Creator said that he would do, and then how the Creator said, how we should be. All right, this said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have held to subdue nations before him, and I will loosen the loins of his kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. And I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight, and I will break in pieces the gates and brasses, and cut in sunder the brasses of iron, and I will give thee the treasures of hidden darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Elohim, which call thee by thy name, am the Yah of Israel. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect, I have called even thee by name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. Now he talking way before he was born. I am the Elohim, and there is none else. There is no Yah beside me. I greeted thee, though thou hast not known me, that thou may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none beside me. I am the Elohim, and there is none else. I formed the light and created darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Elohim, do all these things. Drop down, ye heavens, from above, and let the skies pour down righteousness. Let the earth open, let them bring forth salvation, and let the righteousness spring up together. And the Elohim created. But as he go on, he go to tell you about how the people were so wicked and how they would take something material and fashion it and then give respect to it and then call it, you know what I'm saying, they creator, and how that they were so messed up and so confused and stuff, and how, you know, that they would take the created things and worship it, you know, kind of like what's going on today and how the system got it set up. Well, you know, the Cyrus was called in to save the people from the Babylonian system. And that's another thing. When the Babylonians took us into captivity, they was taking us to be slaves. I got videos showing that how we made a million bricks for Nebuchadnezzar, and how we built up the whole Babylonian empire and stuff, and how we, you know, redid their whole cities, their waterworks and everything. So everybody was taking us around to rebuild their empire and infrastructure and stuff. So, you know, that's what was happening. And then we were saved and stuff. And then it's like, you know, the brother Cyrus, you know, he go from 559 to 530 BC, and then he gonna be the brother that done saved the Israelites and then let them come home and stuff. And that's where you're gonna get the book of Ezra. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get the book of Ezra. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get the book of Ezra. Ezra. See, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Elohim by mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. And the Elohim stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia. And now this is in 537 to 446. This gonna be the exiles history and stuff. And we're gonna look at a little stuff that went on during that time. Real important to understand. You see how the book Esther is way down after Zechariah. This is around about 483 BC to 476. And we're going to see the man that she was married to, who was her husband and stuff, and how she had got put on a throne. That's going to be this brother right here called Cyrus, Exrix. You know, that's going to be the one who Esther saved us by, you know, and who she hooked up with, and then changed that decree that the Amalekite had issued to destroy us on the 13th of Adar, which kind of like coincide with the with December or around about that time. You know, the moon, it could go off into January, but it was on the 13th, and how the 13th is really a good luck number. You know, they try to say, oh, the number 13 is real bad, and the 13th bad is because in history during the Persian Empire they tried to destroy us, and how that sister Esther saved us by getting with this king right here, you know, Cyrus. And then he gonna be married. His daddy Durus gonna be married. His daddy Durus gonna be married Cyrus' daughter. That's go be the image of Durus, and he gonna be married Cyrus' daughter. And just before then, Cyrus had a son named Bertia. You know what I'm saying? Bertia was by another woman and stuff. I believe that he had through a peace treaty with them Scythian type folks, and then, you know, they killed him. You know what I'm saying? The other folks would kill him, and then Cyrus, you know, daughter husband would come on Durus, and Durus would take the struggle to them Scythians and would be fighting them, and went and fought them in Babylon, and was tearing their mouth out. And he even went to Africa to get that Nubian stock. We're doing the satire history. You know, he went and chased the folks that had destroyed the Hebrew nation, that tricked us when they put us on the Egyptian religion. He gonna come into Africa and clear them out, which will give the exiles a chance to come home and do what they were supposed to. But when they come home, there was so many people in the land, and that they was going up against a whole lot. And that's gonna be the time that the enemies put their women on us. See, they quick to put their women on us. When they see that we trying to get it together, that's when they gonna come with their women. And that's why TV is full of it, them putting their women on the Hebrew males, get the Hebrew sister, and mix them with the other ethnic groups and the other tribal peoples, and then they keep us destroyed. And that's what they've been doing and stuff too also. But you see, Dur's son was Exrix, and Exrix gonna be the brother that hooked up with Esther. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be the brother that hooked up with Esther. And I'm gonna try to show this too. All right, you see in the Bible they gonna try to say that name Ashurius is the name of the king in the book of Esther. But that's the Babylonian scribes' ability to hide history, and that should show you that they hide history, because they could have easily put Exrix name their Dur's son, but they didn't. And this is a title that 3 kings use. It's just a title. It's not even the name of a king, but they got that as the king name in the book of Esther, when it was really this brother right here, Cyrus. You know what I'm saying? He got with a Hebrew sister and fell in love with her. You know how them Hebrew sisters is, and how, you know, just the way that they carry themselves. It's easy to fall in love with them. And he even put the crown on her head. You know, she was so cool. Okay. You see this right here. All right. Ashurius in Hebrew, Ashurius and Tiberian. That's gonna be them Tiberian Jews, the ones that didn't go up against the Romans. They translated our history too in Greek, and Assyrius in the Septuagint or Latin. All right, Assyrius in the Vulgate, commonly translated Ashurius. All right, as you read down, you know what I'm saying, it says, is a name used several times in the Hebrew Bible, as well as related legends in that old wicked evil book the Jews created, the Apocryphal books. This name or title is applied in the Hebrew scriptures to 3 rulers. You see that? Is applied to 3 rulers. The same name is also applied to an uncertainty to a Babylonian official. You see, the name was applied to a Babylonian official, and then that's gonna be where the Jews were slick, trying to turn that Babylonian official into the leader. And you know, like I showed, that they done distort history, because, you know, they trying not to let nobody know who the Hebrews is, and they trying to let all history go back to them. You know, and that's the power of the Babylonian scribes, the people that we abandoned our heritage to, you know, that was placed in our land in 722 BC. But you see how, you know, that name right there. Now, when you go here, you see, they gonna tell you, but you got to know what you're looking for, and you got to understand dates and timeline. If you understand dates and timeline, then you can search around in history of when certain biblical acts supposed to have took place, because they trying to keep up with time. They ain't never trying to lose the time, because they know that they have a short time. All right, so all right, this Exrix, all right, as you read, let's say he was the 5th king of the Achaemenid dynasty of Persia, like his predecessor Durus the first is gonna be his daddy, who ruled the empire at his territorial apex. He ruled from 486 until his assassination in 465 at the hands of Archnunibus, the commander of the royal bodyguard. See, he had Amalekites and he had some other wicked folks in his kingdom that had authority and that was up there around him. And them gonna be the same people that tried to destroy us on the 13th because the brother Mordecai didn't bow down to them and that they knew that we was Hebrews. You see, that Amalekite gonna know that we was a Hebrew. And that Amalekite gonna be mixed with Edom, Cain, and it was even Amalekite before the Canaanites, Edom, before Edom son was born with that name. It's gonna be a Cain descendant with that name that's not listed with Noah's sons and stuff, and I can show that too. But you see how this brother right here, he gonna be the brother, the XX1 gonna be the brother that Esther was husband to. And I'm gonna read a little of that history to try to let y'all see what's going on. You can easily pick that book up and then look from Esther, from the book of Esther. After Esther, then you get Nehemiah. Then Malachi gonna be the last book, and that's gonna be the book, 98 years before the Greeks show up, and how it was over with. But let's go into the book of Esther, and then that's gonna be her husband right there. That's gonna be the man she married and stuff. That's gonna be the man that flipped the script on them Scythians and tried to save us. You know what I'm saying? And they would assassinate him. That's like his father. Let me show you how his father Darius was fighting with the Scythians and the Babylonians. Them gonna be the people that enslaved us. You see what I'm saying? See, after Birdie was murdered, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna be that dude, Cyrus' son, by another woman. One of them women that's related to them that he had to marry in a treaty to kind of, to slow the war effort down and stuff, and he gonna be a mixed dude that had a heritage going to the enemies, and he was murdered. You know what I'm saying? And widespread revolt occurred throughout the empire, especially in the eastern side. That's gonna be where all the enemies at and where they originally come from, and that's gonna be where we held in captivity. All right, and then it says, and Darius asserted his position as king by force, taking his armies throughout the empire, suppressing each revolt individually. The most notable of all these revolts was the Babylonian revolt, which was led by Nebuchadnezzar III. See, he gonna have Scythian origin. He gonna be related to the Scythian people as well as Nebuchadnezzar was hooked up with them folks, and he was called in to chase the people out the land for saying that we was going to do the Egyptian religion, Nebuchadnezzar II. All right, this revolt occurred when Onias withdrew much of his army from Babylon to aid Darius in suppressing other revolts. Darius felt that the Babylonian people had taken advantage of him and deceived him. You know what I'm saying? Which resulted in Darius gathering a large army. See, you can't read history the way that they read it. They're going to write it up to try to hide the Israelite heritage. It's just that Cyrus and them was restoring the exiles who the Creator had said that he was going to free and bring back home the good figs. That's all it is. But they try to write it up different. And we know that Cyrus was given that job before he was even born. Coming from Prophet Isaiah in 711 BC, as I've showed, that's going to be Isaiah 45. All right, for a year and a half, Darius and his army were able to retake the city of Babylon through the many attempts and trickery and strategies, even copied that which Cyrus the Great had employed when he captured Babylon. However, the situation changed in Darius' favor when, according to the history, a mule owned by Zerah, the high-ranking official, falls, whatever. But anyway, look, during this revolt, now listen, I have shown how Ashkenazi is the Scythians, and how the Scythians and Ashkenazi is the same people. It's just that the Scythians hadn't got a hold to the Hebrew Israelite heritage and morphed into Ashkenazi, even though they the same people, and how they would destroy Assyria, and how that they was the enemies to the Hebrew peoples. And I also prove how they settled in Scythopolis during the Babylonian wars, and how they were never driven out, and how they stayed there and stuff, and how that they would be there during Jesus' time, and how Jesus spent his whole time dealing with the people in the Discopolis in Galilee, and how those were his members and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, Hebrews. There's a lot of stuff going on in history. It's not written up in our favor, so as when you read it, you can see your heritage. That's why come they got false history, and that's to deceive us from ever knowing our heritage and our history, so we can't never challenge them folks on, who we are and who they are. But you see that, Doris was fighting the Scythians, and they would kill his father-in-law Cyrus. The Scythians killed him, like doing this revolt. Scythians nomad took advantage of the disorder and chaos and invaded Persia. Doris first finished defeating the rebels in Elam. You remember the Scythians, Midas, and all them had went and took Elam over. And them folks was lodged down. And like I say, Haiti, it wasn't nowhere in the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrian Empire wasn't nowhere. And Babylon was right there. And how we, had to deal with the Scythians. Alright. Let's see. Alright. See, that's going to be what's Turkey today. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be Cain descendants. That's going to be Cain descendants right there. Them Hittites. And they ain't going to be descended from Canaan descendants. Even though they try to connect them to Heth. That ain't what we wrote. And you see how the Syrian Empire right there. And right below that is the Caucasus Mountain. You see the Syrian Empire going come across Iran, the top part of Iran, and Armenia, and all them parts right at the foot of the Caucasus Mountain. And then I prove how them folks would come out the Caucasus Mountain and kick it, the Scythians, and kick it into Syria till they got so deep, and then they took it over. And that the Assyrian whole struggling army was about pushing them people back. And that's what the people in Persia did. And they territory gonna be on the backside. On the backside of what's called Iran today. You know what I'm saying? Around them parts and stuff. And that's the Babylonian map, the Euphrates, and so forth. Okay, so this, dude right here would, be Esther. He chose Esther, the sister Esther, and over that other lady that I can show that she was a Caucasian, like she was fair. All right, so then if you read the book of Ezra, and we know that Ezra showed that Cyrus started to implement his plan and stuff, and then we know his son Chambers come into Egypt to chase away them Egyptians and them Ethiopians and them folks that had tricked us out the heritage into worshiping the Egyptian religion, and how he came and chased them away, and that would give the exiles a chance to come home. And then how Doris took the struggle to them folks and whooped they tail, them Africans and them Scythians, and then his son would stop the folks from genociding us, them Amalekites. I'm gonna see if I can get this in, but you see Mordecai right there. Mordecai gonna be her uncle, and then they would come home from the Babylonian captivity, and we was all in the Persian province too. You see what I'm saying? So you see he fall within that time frame. All right, so then we go to the book of Esther, and I'm gonna show you Hebrews something. All right, you see the book of Esther. All right, 483 BC to 472 BC, and how his ring is from 480 6 BC to 465. Alright. And it come to pass in the days of Ashurius. Now I told you how they used that word, and that word was for three. It's just a title and don't even mean king. And how that was Cyrus, man. You know what I'm saying? How that was King Cyrus, Exrix. You know what I'm saying? That is talking about this guy. You know what I'm saying? That was, on the throne and stuff. And how that's Durus' son. Alright. And Durus is going to be Cyrus' son-in-law. Alright. Now it come to pass in the days of Assyrius. This is Assyrius, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 province. That in those days, when the king of Syria sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace, and I can show you that's where these Hebrews was. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be the brother in Ezra. You know, so I think Nehemiah gonna show that he left from Shushan. All right. Let me see. See, Shushan. In the words of Nehemiah the son of Halakah, and it come to pass in the month of Chisul, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan, the palace. You see, so Nehemiah was there and stuff. You see, so he was there. So and it's gonna be the last part. All of them come home. They was able to come home. So Nehemiah was at the same place as Esther was at. They was at the same place. All right. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, and the nobles and princes of the province being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom in the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast. Man, he had plenty money. He whooped them Scythians and bringing us back. You know what I'm saying? Working with the Hebrews and stuff, and trying to fulfill the will of the Creator. He gonna have it all. All right. All the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, were white, green, and blue, hanging fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings, pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance. So whooped everybody and then got all their kings cups and stuff to drink out of. All right, according to the state of the king, and the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Go get them some women, drink, have a party. They done whooped everybody. And they kicking back. You know what I'm saying? Enjoying the day. All right. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman and Bestha and Herabona and Bigatha and Abigatha and Zothara and Carcas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ashur the king. So you know what I'm saying, them probably some Hebrews or somebody related to them. You know what I'm saying? And then they handled, you know what I'm saying, his women. And then he said to bring Vishta the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look upon. So I didn't show you what that word fair means. So they real slick and tricky with that. They real slick and tricky with that word fair, because that word fair means, you know what I'm saying, white. And then I'm showing that, them was probably some sisters that went into that white woman and told her, the king want to see you. Come on out. You know how they joking and playing and stuff. And then how she probably didn't like them telling her, to come out there to see the king. So she gonna buck. And that's gonna be her demise in the rise of the sister Esther. All right, but the Queen Vishta refused to come at the king's command by his chamberlains. See, the women gonna say, hey man, the king said, get your tail on out there and see him. You know how them Hebrew women gonna be talking smack now, even in captivity. They gonna be talking crazy. And then they gonna be told that lady that the king said, get your tail on out here. And so everybody can see you, and she done buck. All right. But the Queen Vishnu refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wrath, and his anger burned in him. Because if she bucking, she gonna cause all the women to buck, and they gonna see this and decide that. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the time, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shithra, Adamatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, which sat at the first in the kingdom. So his partners that handling his business, all of them done seen the queen buck, and they knew that if she bucked, that's gonna make all the women buck that they deal with. What shall we do unto the Queen Vishta according to the law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the King Usher. We know that that's this brother right here. This brother Zyrex. You know what I'm saying? Exrex. You know what I'm saying? We know that's him. So, that ain't somebody that you can't find out. That they real slick because they don't want you to know what happened and stuff. Alright, and Memucan answered before the king and the princess Vishnu, and queen had not done wrong to, let me see. What shall we do unto the law, the queen Vishnu, according to the law, because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ustra by the chamberlain? And Memucan answered before the king and the princess Vishnu, the queen had not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in the province of the king's Ustra. You know what I'm saying? We know that's him. All right. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husband in their eyes, when it shall be reported that King Usher commanded Vishta the queen to be brought in before him, but she come not. So she bucking and stuff. You know what I'm saying? She bucking, and then she ain't trying to come see the king, probably because them folks done told her to get out there and probably playing with her, and that made her get rebellious. But all this working into the will of the Creator. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen, this shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. So if the queen bucking against the king and don't want to come out and disobeying him, that all the other women gonna see that they can do that, and they will do that. And so they tried to nip that in the bud. All right. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vishta come no more before the king Ustra, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than her. You know what I'm saying? That's better than she. And when the king's decree which he had made shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, and all the wives shall give to their husband honor, both to great and small. And the same pleased the king and the princes. And the king did according to the commandment of Memucan, for he sent letters unto all the king's province, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of everyone. So then as you read, you know what I'm saying, as you read, they go get the sister, but like I say, they put that word Jew in the book of Esther so many times. I'm talking about they Jewed that page down. They Jewed that page down because they want you to think that those was the Jews, because their plan was foiled. Their plan was stopped to destroy the people. They was going to destroy the people because the brother Mordecai didn't bow down to that Edomite, Amorite, Cain dude, and that was our enemies, and that was the enemies in the land, and how he was descended from them, and how he didn't bow down to them, and bow down to him, and pay him no homage. And then when he found out that we was the Israelite, because the Esther, you know, the brother, her uncle told her, don't tell nobody that you are Israelite. Don't tell them what you know what I'm saying, you was from. And I'm sure that they had women from all over the province, white, black, Asian, you know, because he gonna be none conquered, you know, Durius and Cyrus and them conquered from Asia, from India, all the way to Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's going to be all kind of women, different looks and likes. And what was so cold about the king, now this is a real king. He ain't let no woman just fall up on him. That woman had to go bathe in some spices and bathe for 6 months before you come in and kick it with him. You know what I'm saying? But the sister Esther didn't have to stay the whole period because she was so fine. You see what I'm saying? So, but they try to trick you and make you think that the Jews were the people in Esther when it wasn't, and it was the Jews, them Amalekites, them Jebusite type kin folks that tried to destroy us, so that when they got our history, that they made sure that they fixed the book of Esther real good, because that's where they plan failed. You know, and I'm gonna show this. You know, if you go to Genesis, let's go to Genesis. Let's put some history on this, because, you know, when we get to the Amalekites, you'll already kind of understand. Man, this time going fast. All right, Genesis 1:6. Genesis 1:6. Genesis 1:6. All right, Genesis. All right, this is the history of the Amalekites. I ain't got no long time on this recording device right here. You see Genesis 6:12, you know, and then Genesis 14:7. That's gonna be the Amalekite, and the Amalekite gonna be the dude that Mordecai didn't bow down to and didn't have no respect for. That Amalekite sent a decree out to destroy us, but because that sister Esther had got in with the king, and the king chose her, that she revealed who she were, and she told, you know, changed the ordinance, and we got them on the 13th. You know, we tore their mouth out on the 13th. You know what I'm saying? The 13th of Adar, and that when that time come around. So that's what the book of Esther about. But if you ain't careful, they'll try to make you think that those was the Jews, because they had that word Jew in there so many times. Man, I'm talking about that word Jew is everywhere. And that dude name was Haman. You know, but they try to make it seem like that they was after the Jews. You know, but no, but the Jews are not the Israelites. The Jews are not the Israelites. And the Jews are Jebusites. You know? Israelites are not Jews or Jewish unless they convert to the Jews with their religion, Judaism. You know, and that's how an Israelite can become a Jew, is if he convert to Judaism. You know, and man, I showed on the other videos how we ran into Africa during the Babylonian Wars, the 99%, but that exile, that little 1%, that 10th that was taken to Babylon, and how they made it home. And then that's gonna be these books right here. That's how their history flow with them dates. And that sister Esther married this dude right here, and they would cut us loose and send us home, you know. And then that's how you see that brother Mordecai, that was her uncle. You gonna see him mentioned in the book of Nehemiah, you know, when they come home from Persia. That's gonna be the book of Ezra then. I forgot. Excuse me. Book of Ezra. Alright. That's Mordecai right there. He came home from Persia. After we done, you know, whooped them folks, we got a chance to come home. And then that's these prophets' history right here. Them prophets' history right there. And that sister Esther saved us. A Hebrew sister, Hebrew woman, saved us. And you know, them was some hard times. And like how I show you how his father, Cyrix's father, Exric's father is Doers. Doers, that dude right there. And how Doers married this dude's daughter, Cyrus, and how Cyrus was prophesied to come do what he did by the prophet Isaiah 152 years before he was even, you know, come on the throne and stuff. And that should let everybody know that the Creator is real. And this, you know, the history right here, you know, he was mentioned by prophet Isaiah in 711 BC and 152 years before he got on throne in 595 BC. And then Chambers, his son, you know, he went into Africa to try to clear the way to get them heathens, them Egyptians and all them folks out the land that had tricked the exiles. I mean, they had tricked us, that caused the exiles to go into captivity, and how he come in and cleaned the land out of them, and that would let the exiles come home to be given a chance. And the exiles come home and start mixing and start tricking off with the people that was still in the land. And it's like it was a whole bunch of people in the land. And I can show this real quick. So you see this right here? All these folks was in the land, as well as the ones from 722 BC, as well as a whole bunch of other folks that pulled up. Then Rumi, the counselor, and Shimi, the scribe, and the rest of their companions, the Danites, the Arphichites, the Turpelites, the Hashaphites, the Archivites, the Babylonians, and the Shushionites, and the Devites, and the Elamites. All them folks was placed in our land, as well as these folks right here. Them the people that would destroy the exiles. I got some history. I'm going to start spending some time doing the exiles history. And then I can show y'all, you know, I got videos showing that they was destroyed, but I'm going to go over the history a little more in detail, showing how they was destroyed when they come back and how they didn't give a chance. All right, you see them other people that was placed in our land. All right, these going to be the first people, and these the people we abandoned our heritage to, that was Babylonian scribes. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddar, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Those going to be the scribes, the people that we abandoned our heritage to, that was Babylonian scribes. And then the other people that was placed in our land when the exiles come back was from Babylon too, and they was Babylonian scribes. So it wasn't nothing but storytellers and book writers pulling up to our land. And that's why come you got all this false history, and then we abandon our heritage to them folks. We abandon our heritage to them folks, and then when the exiles come back from Babylon, they got destroyed by the Greeks, because as I have shown that the Persians, Doris and them would go fight the Greeks. That's gonna stir them up. That's gonna stir the Greeks up. Him going to fight the Greeks, that's gonna stir them up. And then when his son get on the throne, setting us free, and then choose that Hebrew sister, and then flip the script, and we done destroyed them folks on the 13th. On the 13th of Adar, we done destroyed them folks. They gonna come, and that's what came. The Greeks came, and then us seeing those exiles that had come home, that the Persians let loose, started sinning so bad. If you read the book of Ezra, you're gonna see it was over. They was mixing. And then if you read the book of Haggai gonna tell you how that they was still up under covenant law, that they couldn't mix. You know, the book of Haggai gonna tell you how we was up under covenant law and couldn't mix. You know, I'm gonna see if I can pull the book of Haggai up real quick. Shalom to you Hebrews. This Israel been Israel for the Israelite brotherhood. And let me see if I can pull the book of Haggai up real quick to show you that they wasn't supposed to mix at all. They wasn't supposed to fool with the enemies when they come back. And then that would have maybe gave us a chance in Africa to ease on back to the promised land after we would have seen how great they was doing. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Alright, let's see what is it. Man, that seems like I should go right to the books. Alright, the book of Haggai. Yeah, the prophet Haggai said it was over with, and that they were still up under the law where they couldn't mix. Alright, here we go. Alright, as you read the book of Haggai, you remember they was released from Babylon. And as you read down, according to the word that I covenanted with you, when ye come out of Egypt, so my spirit remained among you, fear ye not. But they start mixing. And then if you read the other books, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, Zechariah, they going to be to measure the temple off from the book of Ezekiel. When Ezekiel was shown that them angels would measure Jerusalem off, well, they come measured the temple off in Zechariah days and fulfilled all that and did just what he said. And then, we get the book of Esther when they tried to destroy us. When they tried to destroy us on the slick, and then how she would save us. And then you get Nehemiah. He showed that we were sinning. This is like 100 years before the Greeks get in. He's showing you how we were sinning real bad in the book of Nehemiah. And then Malachi, it was over with. It was over with. He tell you how dirty and low down the priest was, how they was bringing crippled animals to the temple, talking about that they giving it to the creator, animals that they couldn't sell and do nothing with, and how that they was doing all kind of stuff to where it was over. The prophet even said that he didn't know how we were still on the land that long, and how we had stayed on there that long, how he didn't even know how that happened. And then the Greeks pull up 98 years later and would kill all the exiles off real fast. And I got a video showing how, they did it. And then I done showed how he said that the Scythians, the Scythians come back and got the Persians through the Greeks. Tore their mouth out. And then the Greeks show up. 332 BC. And then after the Greeks show up, and then they settled in, then you start getting the Lichemists. Those are the Ptolemies and the folks, the bodyguards of Alexander, and how one of them was even high priest of the promised land. You know what I'm saying? He was in the temple. You know what I'm saying? Lichemists was a high priest of them fake Jews that was there because all the exiles was gone. They got rid of the exiles. I promise you they did. And that's how them folks took on our heritage, the Lichemists. And then that's when you get the Ptolemies, the Ptolemies statues and stuff and all that stuff up. The Ptolemies, the Seleucids, all them folks, and them the folks that Jesus would have seen during his time going to Egypt. I got videos about him, but this is the Seleucids. All them folks will pull up. All them demons will pull up after the exile sin. And the Persians, was knocked off because the Persians was their protectors. The Persians was the exiles' protectors. And then how all them folks showed up. And it was over. And then to show you that it was over with, Tigranes the Great took over 10,000 Jews from the promised land and took them to Armenia. He took them from Jerusalem to Armenia. Jews to Armenia from Jerusalem. He took over 10,000, and not one of them was black. Not one of them was black. You can't find no black culture, no blackness extending from the Armenians in their culture. And dude took them Jews there in 95 to 55 BC, and not none of them black, and they would control Europe. And then how them Scythians that settled in the promised land during the Babylonian wars had settled in Scythopolis, and the head city of the Scythopolis cities, and it was over with for the exiles. But, you know, the history that they show is false. History that they show, and that's going to be the only image of Cyrus. And they try to come up with all kind of drawings and then broke him down to a mixed dude to almost looking white now. And, you know what I'm saying, he was a pigmented black person, the same as Durus and the same as Exodus. Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. And support the Israelite Brotherhood by subscribing on YouTube. And like I said, you know, Prophet Isaiah had prophesied Cyrus come in and did the business. His son Chambers came in and chased the Nubian stock out of Egypt and out of Egypt in the promised land to make sure that they didn't come back in the promised land to try to destroy the exiles, and gave them a chance. And how the exiles fell apart and the Greeks come in and destroyed them. But I showed how that sister Esther was married to Exodus and not some old mysterious dude that they want you to think. You know what I'm saying? And Cyrus is going to be his grandfather. All right, shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood, and I pray that clear up a little history about the exiles. I'm going to go into some more of their history. I'm going to do the history of how the exiles were destroyed and how the prophet Ezekiel had all the tribes and how all the tribes was there from the Babylonian wars, and how everybody, you know, that didn't run into Africa was taken to Babylon, and how those will be the people, and how it just never was any Judah going to Babylon by themselves, and how that's false history. And how those folks create false history and then attach themselves to it, and then that's how they rule and stuff. But we're going to start showing them some real history, and this is what the Israelite Brotherhood is about. Subscribe and support the Israelite Brotherhood. Like I said in the other video, I ain't trying to save you, I'm trying to save us. I'm trying to give us something to fight with. All right, and you Hebrews, you know, subscribe to the Israelite Brotherhood. Support a brother that ain't doing Jewish history. Shalom to the Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood.